So I ain't gonna lie, I'm a little concerned after this week's episode of From Old Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman because, well, I was like, hey, this was a pretty intense arc, all things considered, manipulating, exploiting children because they want to see their dead siblings or parents in order for you to make a quick buck. It's pretty messed up, but hey, if you're in the crime business, it's also a very effective strategy. And then you realize that, wait a second, not only was the person that this said manipulator, exploiter, working for, potentially actually dabbling in the dark arts of necromancy, could be a misdirect, but it does have me concerned there might actually be some way to tap into the dead and do some nefarious shit, so zombies might be on the horizon. Anyone that we try to get close to explore the deep-rooted conspiracy, the mastermind behind everything, they're gonna blow those bitches up. Pop goes the weasel. It's a pretty common tactic among, people, especially, old cyanide pills in the teeth, whatever else. But the idea of just like, oh, he's got arrested, we're just gonna blow him right up. What's the end result? I don't know. Because as soon as I saw that, the arm went up when the flashback was happening about how this guy can revive the dead, I was like, oh, that's very clearly like some levitation magic or something, right? And, a kid wanting to see their dead sister, of course they're going to believe it. And if you freeze their bodies or keep them on ice, they're going to decay a lot, slower. And I don't know, maybe it's a misdirect, but the idea that it just feels to me that whoever Twilight was working for, I feel like he's going to do something along the lines of actual necromancy, which is supposedly not something that can happen. But it ain't going to just be sunshine and rainbows that come back to life. I think it's going to be an army of the dead. And if that's the case, that could be very, very concerning. But to be honest, I walked in this episode saying I don't think they're going to be able to continuously top this show because last week was such a good episode. There's no way, and they did it. Every single week, they're somehow topping themselves. And this show is absolutely a banger. Of course, me, I do got those full thoughts, live reactions over on my Patreon. You want to support my work, see my full and cut thoughts, they're over there exclusively. So, I was interested what they're going to do with this girl. Obviously, someone who was pickpocketing us, or attempting to anyway. And, down on her luck, probably needs money for something, whether or not they're holding it over her head to buy her freedom, whatever it is. I knew they were going to do something good with it, but I wasn't expecting it to be quite this good. And I think the big star attraction was how they made Mui kind of more like a corner dog. So often when you have these characters who very clearly have been interacting with shitty people for a long time, yeah, they got a little bite to their speech. They might feel a little rude, a little sharp-edged. But in general, they adjust very quickly. And to be honest, the best way to describe her was she felt like not only with how tense she looked, her VA had this hostility that reminded me more of, okay, you take a abused dog or a dog that's never known human kindness off the streets. You put it in a cage. That it's growling, it's hissing, it's attacking the cage because it does not trust. That's the vibe she gave off, where usually you get the, I don't trust you guys, and just like that softer cowering, maybe a couple sly remarks, where she literally, with her words, the way she, emphasized everything, it felt like daggers coming out. She did such a great job. The Japanese cast is fantastic. And honestly, I like the fact that her distrust made sense. I mean, probably the only adult she's been interacting with is the group that's, basically saying, go steal us 5 million worth of goods and we'll bring back your dead sister. And I mean, from Twilight's point of view, he thinks it's complete bullshit. I'm starting to wonder, though, if, there might be something going on even Twilight wasn't knowing about. But either way, why continue to keep people's dead bodies if you ain't doing something crazy with it, is all I'm saying. But even if they don't go that route, clearly there's some masterminds that even Twilight doesn't know the full picture where things are going, so that'll be interesting. But I liked it because, the idea of her coming back to kind of like the scene of the crime, wanting it, and then realizing, because I thought they were going to go the route of he didn't recognize her because she had a hood on, and then we'd have that kind of dumb MC, like, oh, you're the original owner, and she'd be like, yep, of course, not having to admit that she tried to rob him, but instead they just immediately went realistic, like, oh yeah, you're the person, if this is really yours, and then we have this big conversation. And I think one of the most interesting things, while I don't know if I would be the same in her situation, But the idea that they bring out like these sweets and coffees, and she wants nothing, but as soon as he brings out this giant loaf of bread, she just mows it down. Because at the end of the day, bread probably would taste a little better, a little more familiar, but also something that's going to keep you full longer than, you know, some sweets next to coffee. And she probably doesn't really trust that either. I just thought it was such a nice little detail there. And I think this show in general does such a great job at humanizing everyone that it could have easily been a lot more of a harem mess, something that's just like, oh, everyone wants to bang Beryl because he's daddy in the house. Instead, they've actually made a show that is building into a deeper conspiracy in the world, as this man is kind of like learning and realizing that he has more to offer. I mean, this man literally, with a wooden sword, throat thrusted, and not in the fun way, into a half a dozen people. And that's savage, man. Had that been a real sword, they would have been insta-killed. But the fact that, like, if you've ever been punched in the throat, hit in the throat, that hurts. The fact that he, like, punched her, like, multiple times, and the fact that the last guy he did it to, when asked why, he's like, I just didn't like his face. My boy had some moves, I gotta admit. And I love the fact that you basically, because this world's established, people can use magic even if they don't have magical abilities by using these amulets, these trinkets. So this man's out here doing some frost magic, some flame magic, gravity, whatever, right? Like, nothing. And then she's like, yeah, that's an imitation. You think that has anything against the real thing? And just bodies this fool. And I thought that was great. Sadly, we won't get any information out of him because, well, he poof, boom, he dead. But it's very clearly not the last we've seen of the group that was, you know, supplying this man all the bullshit. So it will be interesting what they do. Once again, though, the animation was fantastic. Like, they kickstart this episode off. So one of the students is coming in. And the best way to describe it, it felt like a snake maneuver. Blade here, it looks like he's going, and then he just, like, serpentines around. It was such a cool move. Did it defeat Beryl? No. But the animation just felt like, man, this is once again a highlight of this isn't a show that's just randomly animating sword swings. There's actually moves and precision here that's just so good. Do I still see the same 12 people every week be like, the animation isn't good, it deserved better, blah, blah, blah? Yeah, but I'm pretty sure I'm convinced those same people think that if you just make things a little more sparkly with flashier colors, that equals good animation, because this show legitimately has some of the best animation of the season. But once again, I have to highlight in all these videos that I don't think a lot of people realize what normal anime looks like and how characters stand still and talk. So all the extra animation we get in this show is actually more than your average anime gets, but I feel like it's like me talking to a wall at this point. I think something's happened in the anime community, and like people watch Demon Slayer and then the Sakuga fights of an Attack on Titan, and they think that's the base level of animation, because there's so much more to it. And as I've said, there's flashy type of animation, and then there's realistic type of animation. This one has that realistic feel where you actually can see every sword swing, every frame, every little minute detail, and it makes it look so freaking good. Of course, though, those are my thoughts. You let me know what you thought of this week's episode. I think it keeps getting better, but your thoughts. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course, ring that bell, and like I mentioned, we got those full live reactions over on my Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alright, so today we got Jess Y, One-Eyed, I Am Here, Caden Wade, Aleska A, Ciara, Witten Raptor 7, Parnick, James Moss, and we also have Only Gems. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and y'all have a good one.